Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast, where you'll be not only allowed, but encouraged to dream big dreams and imagine the very best future for yourself and your family. Throw away expectations and perfection and embrace the messy beauty of what it means to be a marvelous mom. I'm your host, Kirsten Tyrell, and I can't wait to help you discover what makes you marvelous. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. You're going to love this one if you're kind of one of those people who are like, I have money coming in, but somehow I don't have money staying in my bank account. Because today I have Miko from the Budget Mom here, and she's going to bring you guys some insane value. And we're going to talk about mom stuff. We're going to talk about money stuff. So maybe get a notepad out, maybe get a pen. You're going to want to take some notes because this one's going to be awesome. Thank you for being here, Miko. I'm so glad that you are.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So is it okay if I call you Miko? I know that your agent calls you Miko, but your full name is it Kumiko?
Yes, that's right. My full name is Kumiko, but my whole life I've just been called Miko.
It's such a pretty name. I love it.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So I like to give everybody a little bit of like background on your mom life. How many kids you have? What kind of a day in the life looks like for you?
So currently I have one son. His name is James, and he's just about turned 7 in August, and he's going into the 2nd grade. And it's just me and my son, just the two of us conquering the world.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. And school is like about to start. By the time people are listening to this, school will be probably fully in session, but it's crazy how fast, like how long we wait for summer and then how fast it goes. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been a long summer. There's been a lot happening at our house, but that's exciting. 2nd grade. I have a son that's the same age, so they could totally be friends.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so give us a little bit of background on the Budget Mom and kind of the backstory leading into that, and how you created it. I just kind of want you to dive in and give us a little bit of the story.
Sure. So I'm like a lot of people, I graduated college with a bunch of student loans, at the time, credit card debt as well. I graduated with a finance and accounting degree, and I was very blessed and fortunate to get a job right out of college working in the financial industry. And, one of the first things my advisor asked me to do was to sit down and create a budget. He said, you need to sit down and do this. It's funny because I graduated with a finance degree, but I had no true concept of personal finance. What I learned a lot had to do with corporate finance. And so this was all very new to me. And it wasn't until I actually wrote everything down on paper how much I realized how bad my situation really was with my debt. It's so easy to be blinded by our situations when we're only making the minimum payments. It's hard to see the overall burden that we carry. And so I knew at that time, I had to get a grip on paying off my debt. And so I struggled for a couple of years trying to figure out a budget and what worked for me. And I failed over and over again. But not only that, when I was scouring the internet and trying to find answers on how to do this, and in the meantime, feeling completely hopeless and just devastated that here I was, working in the financial industry, being a professional, I felt to myself like, if I can't even, manage my own finances, how am I going to be able to tell people how to manage theirs? It was just a very defeating, embarrassing situation. And it wasn't until my son was born that it really was that wake-up call, that aha moment for me, where it was no longer just about wanting to manage my finances. I had to learn how to manage my finances because I had this whole new level of responsibility and this huge weight on my shoulders of really being 100% responsible for this little itty bitty human being, who's completely dependent on you. And for me, that hit home for me. It really did change my entire life at that moment when my son was born. So the Budget Mom was started when I was going through the accredited financial counseling designation program. I finally was learning all these answers and things that I wish I had known in the very beginning when I was struggling to figure it out. It's kind of those things where you just want to scream from the rooftops. And I felt deep down that it was my duty. It was my duty to share this information with the world, because I felt like if I could help one person out there, kind of skip a lot of the heartache and a lot of the feelings that I felt in the beginning, then it would be worth it. And that's how the Budget Mom was born.
Wow. I love it so much. And regular listeners of this podcast will know that I get super excited when I talk to people who not only realize how to solve their problem, but how to help solve it for other people, because that's where the magic is born. That's how entrepreneurs are born. That's how service really comes to life. And so I love that. And I love
Mhm.
your story. And I think a lot of us have found ourselves in that situation. I personally, in a separate realm, have found myself in a situation where I discovered it's like you get to the root of this world that you didn't even know existed. And for me, it was like entrepreneurialism. And I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops, exactly like you said. That was that's the best way to describe it, right? Like you literally want to stand
Mhm.
on the roof and say, everybody, I have something I need to tell you, and you all need to drop what you're doing and listen. And
Exactly right.
yeah.
Exactly, like, the Budget Mom was started because I had all this knowledge in my head and I needed an outlet. I needed an outlet to get it out of my head, out of my
Yeah.
system, and the thought of just being able to change one person's story, one person's journey in life was truly what I was fighting for.
Hmm.
And so it does truly make it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard though when you're just getting started, right? Like you want to solve everybody's problem while you're solving yours. I made that mistake of trying to kind of, and I guess maybe it wasn't even a mistake because it was part of the journey. I wanted to drag people along with me as I was uncovering all these truths and as I was trying to solve these problems for myself. I just wanted everybody to go on the journey. I wanted everybody to be on the path because I didn't want to get somewhere and look back and be like, you guys should have started when I started. But at the same time, in trying to
Right.
solve the problem right away before I had even figured out the solutions and actually implemented the things that I was trying to learn, it was a lot harder for people to take it seriously. So it's probably taken, I don't know how long ago you started the Budget Mom. How long ago has that been?
It's been a little over 3 years.
Okay. So we're kind of on the same trajectory ish. It takes some time to really, like, first of all, establish the knowledge that you want to share with people by implementing it in your own life, right? And then seeing the fruits of the labors. And then you have to actually figure out, how do I get this into the hands and minds of everybody else? Because now I've proven these theories correct. Like, you can live on a budget, like, you can have more by living in this way, and start to give them that strategy. So, but do you remember feeling that way of just like overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I don't even have this figured out, but I really want to teach it. I really want to teach people, but I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Well, the funny thing is the Budget Mom is truly my journey. It's my
Mhm.
story as well. And I think that's what makes the Budget Mom really different. It's so much the reason I started the Budget Mom is because of two things. One, I wanted to really share the psychological and emotional triggers behind money management, the
Mm.
things that I felt were not being talked about enough. I had a really hard time, when I was struggling to figure things out. I had these questions like, why
Mhm.
are people making these money decisions, what's going through their minds, but not only that, tell me why I should implement this into my own life, and what are the feelings that I'm going to be feeling, because let's be honest, emotion drives so much of what we do,
Yeah.
whether it be good or bad, and it's so closely connected to our finances that not enough people are talking about that.
Mhm.
And so, even to this day, hey, no one's perfect. No one knows everything. I'm still learning new things. And the fact, though, that I'm able to share my personal journey through my business is just remarkable. And it's a true blessing. And a lot, I do have a lot of readers who come on board late in the game. But that's the great thing about having this business is I have tracked this entire journey from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to share those earlier moments with them. So I have a very close connection with a lot of my readers, with all of my readers. They just truly are my life, and I care about them deeply.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said, because this is something to learn from for everybody listening, because, and I guess, I was sitting there kind of pinpointing it as like this was a problem, but it really is the blessing. It's how you build a tribe, and it's how you really pour into people, is not waiting until it's perfect to put it out there, right? Like not waiting until you've completely solved an issue to start sharing with people and taking them on a journey with you and start helping them to implement as you go. Because as you're able to share the pain points, as you're able to share the process, even the hard times, then people don't feel, you feel relatable, right? Like you're taking them through something and you're not just like this person. I mean, I even dare say like Dave Ramsey. That's just, a lot of people follow that and they subscribe to that and everything. But to me, a little bit too, it was like, that is so far out of the realm of reality for me, because now this is like a multi-millionaire and I'm trying to learn basic
Right.
stuff of how to, like, and it's a relatable thing, and it's kind of taking people from through a progression. And that's
Well, I think too, a lot of it, that's what makes us human, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes us all connected in this journey in some way. And so I always try though to remind my readers, I'm just like them.
Mhm.
I am this single mom who is still trying to figure it out, whose only goal in life is to provide the best life for my child and be the best mom that I can be. But it's also to show them hope that there is something on the other side, that we may be in all different, journeys, and we might be in different steps in our journey and in different situations. However, we're all in this together some way, somehow.
Mhm.
And so I really do think that, especially like, I love the fact that I can talk about being a mom
Yeah.
through my journey as well, because it's such a huge part of my story. So yeah, it's just really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I love that you've been able to build a tribe all the while doing that. And that is like where people, that's how they connect, is they see the process. And for me, like I put it out there in the beginning of my journey, and people who have been listening for a long time know this. Like we were putting it out there, we're going to become millionaires in 1 year. Spoiler, it didn't happen in 1 year. It did happen, just
Right.
not in 1 year. And
Right.
but I had to put it out there, and people at first were like, "Okay, like whatever you say. Yeah, you go do that. You go become a millionaire." But then as they saw the struggle and they saw like, "Oh my gosh, she's still working through that. She's still going on this crazy goal. Holy cow, things just started to
Mhm.
fall into place for her." Then there's a belief because they've seen it from the beginning when it wasn't anything turn into something when it is something. So and it's
Right.
like motivating to women. I really, really feel passionately on this platform about we are moms and we get to show up for our kids, but that is not the end. Like, we don't have to spend all of our time just being somebody's caretaker. We get to have passions and we get to have dreams. And there's something inside every person listening right now that they could share with the world to benefit them, to make them, better people. They can be more successful. And I think it's important for people to hear over and over and over again that you just need to start. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have a perfect system figured out. It is by the doing that you figure out how it is that you serve people. You have gotten to know your audience and what they really need from you by serving them starting from day one instead of waiting until you're like, I have the perfect plan for you guys. And that's how you build the trust.
Right, exactly. And plus, if I always tell my readers, if you're sitting at home and you have this burning passion
Mm-hmm.
and you have this sense of purpose, you need to follow it, no matter if you know all the answers or not. I wake up every day and I know my purpose in this world. I knew my purpose when my son was born. I was no longer lost, but now I also have a purpose on what I'm doing with the budget mom, and I wake up every day with that passion and that fire inside of me. And I will tell you what, when I first started, I did not know all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important that people follow those dreams and they believe in themselves enough to wake up every day and say, you know what? I am enough. My journey, my story, my thoughts, my knowledge, it's enough to make a
Yeah.
difference. And that's the most important thing.
Oh, I love that so much. And I'm glad that you're sharing that message. I'm glad it's kind of fun to find like minded women who you're just like, yes, okay, great. You've got your space over there and you're helping those people and I'm helping my people.
Yeah.
And together we are literally going to change. We're going to change the world. And I feel like
Yes.
it's this new wave of feminism, right? It's not necessarily like doing a march or whatever. I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I feel like it's more this like kind of this beautiful evolution of women really stepping into what they're capable of. And it doesn't have to be, sticking it to the man or anything. It's just like, okay, it's this kind of this beautiful silent process and not so silent for some of us where we're just like, wow, I really am worthy of this. And the more women who stand up and show that and are an example of that and are fearless in pursuing that, then the more it creates space for people to do it instead of viewing it as like, oh, but those girls are already conquering. Like, oh, Miko's already conquered the budget space. It's like, no, 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 because there's millions, billions of people out here who need your message. Step in. I've created a space for all of us. Let's do this together.
Right. And the thing is, too, what we have to remember in doing what we're doing is I am the budget
Mm-hmm.
mom. And a lot of the time, people think mom represents just me and my son, me being a mom to my son. But I look at it so much more than that. The budget mom is not only just helping the parents and the moms out there, but essentially it's helping the children of those parents. So the way I look at it is if I can help one mom out there improve her life, then she is improving the life of her child.
Mm-hmm.
Her child then gets to witness what it looks like to have proper and good financial management in the home. And I think that, as kids, they're just sponges. They soak up everything. I see it in my son every single day. And so, really, I'm not just touching, I just don't want to touch my readers. I want to touch their
Mm-hmm.
families. And that's also very important to me.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down kind of as a note of it's part of your title, The Budget Mom, and that mom aspect is where the urgency came from, and that's where you have an urgency to help other women to impact their families. And I feel the same thing in the kind of the realm of what I'm trying to do, is like, this isn't just for you to rise and be glorious. This is for you to make a real difference. This is because I need you to understand this, because when you grasp this, it's going to change your family dynamic. It's going to change the way that your kids get to show up in the world. It's going to make a generational impact if we can really get this message through. And so it creates a totally different power when you make it not just about you, but about, because you're a mom, you have a unique divine role to be able to share this stuff with your people. And your people meaning
Oh, for
your
sure.
kids. They're like
Yeah.
the first people you should be trying to impact. And I know even on your website, like it says, like, having your son, and how are you looking at him, like, how am I going to provide a life for you? And I felt the same way
Right.
looking at our kids of like, are we always going to live in, paycheck to paycheck lifestyle where we, don't have anything that we can provide extra for them, that we can't have experiences? Are we never going to be able to do the things I was passionate about pre-kids? And that's a huge urgency.
Exactly.
That's pushed us a lot in pursuit of our dreams, is not to have glamorous stuff, but just to provide a well-rounded, wholesome life for our kids. So,
Exactly. And to experience and do those things without relying on debt.
mhm.
I think, that's a well, this was one of my underlying reasons why I do what I do for my son is I no longer wanted to rely on debt to provide a life that I felt I wanted with my son. And it's really has just driven me even
Yeah,
more.
I love it. So let's do a little brag session of yours, by the way, now that we've talked about how this has been a journey and it's been progress over time and about 3 years, and tell everybody how much debt you've paid off.
I've paid off over $77,000 worth of
Oh
debt,
my
and I'm
gosh.
just about to hit. I've saved almost as much as that as well
That's so exciting. And your next goal is what?
to buy my first home with cash.
Yes, girl. I'm right there with you. I'm right. Let's do it together. That's so exciting. And why is that? Is it just because you don't want to ever be in debt again, or
No, so here's the thing that makes me a little bit different. I don't necessarily think that all debt is bad. In fact, I
Mhm,
don't think credit cards are bad. I think that if you're disciplined enough to pay them off every month and get some rewards from that credit card, hey, I think go for it. I have so many readers who travel the world using rewards points.
mhm.
So I do see a benefit of it, but here's why I made the decision. Ultimately, of course I ran the numbers, but it was ultimately peace of mind.
Yeah.
I knew that when I transitioned from my full time job from the financial industry, working for my business full time, the thought of having a huge mortgage payment hanging over my head scared the crap out of me.
Mhm.
Because let's face it, we're going from a guaranteed W-2 income wage to now being completely self reliant on our businesses. That in itself is completely terrifying.
Mhm.
And not only that, to know that I was walking out in that world with this huge, massive amount of debt, it kept me up at night. And you always, and this is the emotional side of money management that I'm talking about. It's not always just about the numbers. You
Mhm.
have to be completely at peace with the decisions you're making with your money, because if you're not, you're never going to truly feel successful.
Right.
And for me, that peace of mind does not have a value. It's worth so much more than that. And
Mhm.
so it's sometimes, a lot of my readers didn't understand. They didn't understand my decision, but as soon as I started explaining it from an emotional standpoint, they go, "Okay, now I get it." And so for me, it was really peace of mind.
Yeah. I love that. I think we can all relate to that, right? Like, I agree, some debt is okay to have, like a car, but it's nice to pay it off. Like, we don't that payment isn't necessarily a burden to us, but I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I just know that that's free and clear and that I own it and I don't have a debt with it anymore, because no matter what happened, I can always have my car, right? And
Right,
the same
right.
thing with your house. It is a peace of mind of like, no matter what happens in the economy, no matter what happens to my health or my business or my savings, I have my house. And that is such a huge peace of mind. And I just don't think enough people are seeking out that like reward. I was just at a mastermind retreat in the Dominican Republic, and two of the people there, one paid off her grandmother's home, which I thought was beautiful and it was super
Wow.
emotional. The other one paid off their own mortgage. And I was like, I've made a lot of money, and I haven't even paid off a house. Like I haven't even purchased a house because I really have been weird about I don't want to buy one until I can pay cash for one.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I totally understand that. It's funny too because not only is it peace of mind too, but I also realize it opened up so many more possibilities for me in my future. The possibility of retiring early, but I also think my decisions stemmed from my past. A lot
Mhm.
of my past experiences, being a divorced mom and losing everything and losing this house that I made into a home for so long. I think that had a lot to do with never again am I going to allow myself to be in a position where I could lose something,
Yeah.
especially something that, a home, a place that a secure place for my son. Um, and I think that really had, even though it may not be at the forefront, and sometimes it was hard for me to admit that and realize that, but I do think that had some impact on my decision.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how could it not, right? Like that's just a different layer of responsibility and a different desire for like going forward in the future of your little family. So I get that
Right.
completely. Well, you're very passionate about what you do. And that's why I love having women like you on the podcast, because I know that passion is contagious. And I hope this has inspired women to go, first of all, build their dream. And I know we focused a lot on like just the back end of that dream more so than on the actual content you provide. But on the website, you guys go check out thebudgetmom.com, because that's the website, right? Let me make sure. Yes.
Yep,
Yes,
thebudgetmom.com. Yep.
thebudgetmom.com. There are millions of resources on there. If this has been a pain point for you, if you've struggled with this at all, like she's answered all of your problems. She's answered all of your questions, and that is the beauty of creating content for 3 years, is you've pretty much mastered it, and you've helped people to figure out ways to master it in beautiful, colorful ways. Everything she puts out is just vibrant, and it totally resonates with me and my desire for bright, beautiful colors. But in addition to that, it's useful and very like in the simplicity of it, it adds up to be big things. So you guys go check it out, please, because I promise you, if this is a struggle, you're going to find something there to help you. So thanks for all of your time to put that into. It's a labor of love. It's a service to create content, and I know that this is something you're able to make money from, as you should be. This should be monetized. You should be benefiting from all of the service you're giving to people in this space. But thank you for creating what you have.
Oh, well, thank you.
Of course. Okay, so a couple more questions. Number one, what are you reading right now? Do you have a favorite book or a book that you're currently reading?
Yes, I'm actually rereading A Million Dollar Woman.
Ooh, I love
Yes,
it.
I read it really fast, and then I'm like, wait a minute, this is full of good stuff. So
I got to go back and mark it.
I gotta go back and actually soak some of this in. So I'm currently rereading that.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. Okay, and then final question, what makes you a marvelous mom?
That's such a hard question. I
Here's
think
the thing, you've answered this over the last like 20 minutes, right? So let's
yeah.
just in a
I
couple sentences sum that up.
well, I think that just being there for my son
Yeah.
and really learning that it's not the things that we have, it's the time that we spend with them. And so
Mm,
I'm constantly always trying to be there for my son and not just provide things, right?
yes.
And so I think that makes me a pretty great mom.
I agree with you. See, that's not a hard question to answer. It's just one that we don't answer enough. Like really, if you think about that, and that's why I really love that this question is asked on every episode. It and I hope everybody listening asks themselves that too. I know I've had women write in and be like, "I've always thought about what I would say, like if I was on the podcast." And I'm like, "Well, if we had time and space for all of you, that would be amazing." But
Yeah.
it is it's important to take the time to appreciate what we're doing right? Like you mentioned this a little
Right.
bit too, that you have to have a way of marking your success. And we have to do that as moms. We have to take a minute to be like, I am actually rocking this mom thing. I'm not perfect, but I am marvelous and I'm doing something right because I do this, you know? So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah. Well, you guys go follow Miko on Instagram. She's got a pretty thriving social media account over there that's just as vibrant, as beautiful as she is. So follow her there and let's keep the conversation going. If you guys want to tag us in maybe an Insta story, screenshot the episode, let us know you tuned in. Maybe one little nugget of advice that you took away. If you're feeling motivated, inspired, we would love to connect with you guys off of the podcast. So thank you again, Miko, for being here. You are amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, ladies, we will see you on the next episode. Have a marvelous day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to take action right now, you're feeling inspired and you're feeling enlightened, and you really want to own this role as a marvelous mom, go to the website marvelousmomsclub.com/me and create your own personal Marvelous Moms Manifesto. That is a tongue twister. marvelousmomsclub.com/me. You go fill in some great information, and in the end, you'll have a beautiful manifesto to display where only you can see or the whole family can see, where you can really, really own your role as a marvelous mom and step inside those goals and those ambitions and dreams that you have to become an even more marvelous mom to your beautiful family. So again, marvelousmomsclub.com/me. We will see you over there.